Sonny Wilson, an English taxi driver from Kent, was sentenced to death in the Philippines for a crime he never committed. During his 4-year term on death row, my brother, Michael John Clark, befriended him. He was also a prisoner, serving a 16-year prison sentence for a crime he never committed. Sadly, he died of tuberculosis in the prison in May 2005, the year he was due for release. But his story of good hope started when Sonny Wilson was acquitted in December 1999. This is the beginning of the story we tell in our book, Trojan Warriors.
It was over on October the 9th, 1998, when the judge actually said, "We're sentencing you to death."
Wherefore, accused Albert Ernest Wilson, alias Sonny, alias Cano, is hereby sentenced to death. The
When the judge actually gave the verdict and said, "You're sentenced to death," everything just turned off for me. I just collapsed. Nothing worked anymore. It was like a computer and somebody pulled the plug out.
Death by lethal injection on this chair would follow if the appeal failed. But for once Sonny was lucky, the head of the Philippines Legal Service, the Solicitor General, intervened.
He actually said that the charges against me were total fabrication. He's the head of the prosecution, so you can't really get a stronger recommendation than that. And by doing so, he actually speeded up my release. It must be, as far as I know anyway, the fastest decision on record. Before Christmas, an inmate comes into my cell in the dormitory and says, "Sonny, you're acquitted." I couldn't believe it. All I could see was all the other inmates from my dormitory crowding into my cell. I phoned up the embassy, and Alan Collins, who's the British ambassador, came down personally. We went back to the ambassador's residence, and the ambassador's saying to me, "We're going to get you out of the country." And from what I've heard since, probably they were right to get us out so quickly. The ambassador actually carried our bags onto the plane, and he was there up until the second the plane took off.
On Sonny's release, he gave my brother a bag of paperback books, one of which was Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. It was through this book that Michael was convinced that Jesus was the Christ, the Son of the living God. And as a result, he turned his life around to follow Christ as best he could and became a Christian. This true story is told in our book, Trojan Warriors.